What's going on? I'm Zero to Chaos,
And I am melting data.
and welcome to another great, great episode of Culture Clash. Hopefully, everybody out there is doing good. If you're watching this on YouTube, or if you're watching the shorts on TikTok, Instagram, etc., we thank you. If you are listening to the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, we're on Amazon too, aren't we right now?
We're on Amazon, we're on Apple, we're on Spotify. I'm trying to figure out how to get us on YouTube Music.
Boom, let's go.
That's coming next.
Let's go. I'm saying. But if you are listening to us on any of those platforms, we thank you. And continue to share the link, continue to leave the comments, because boy, they have been spicy. It seems like every week I'm coming on here now saying that the comments have been burning me, bro. Yeah, y'all burn deep. Y'all cut deep and burn deep too. I'm just going to be honest with you.
We got some good comments this week, especially on the conversations we had about GTA
Oh, yeah.
last episode.
Man, people, again, and I didn't see anybody return comments because I did actually read them all, and I liked everything, and I agreed. I agree with people's points because, like I said, it's you're not wrong, but some people can have certain opinions. I think nobody was like negative in the comments like that, but I did reply back to it with another question in the comments, but no one said anything. So, but they pretty much said like you can't compare a movie experience to a gaming experience when it comes to the pricing of both. And in return, I was like, well, that seems kind of like that seems wrong because yes, there's a place that we go to watch a movie for an hour or two, and they price it at a certain range, food, etc., the ticket, your experience. But I was like, but we also have places where we go to that now where we can play video games per hour with food and an experience. So it's like they did bring up the fact like you can get 50 to 100 hours of an experience with a game versus like an hour or two with a movie. And I in response was like, well, I can rewatch that movie multiple times throughout my life because I own that digital copy.
Yeah,
So, and that was just it'll dig deeper. I think if we had an open conversation about the two platforms, and yes, I don't think video games will ever meet or beat the amount that it takes to make like AAA movies, like blockbuster summer movies. I don't think it'll ever get that bad. But it was interesting, and I just wanted to know some people's opinions out there. So keep the comments coming because I like when we have those talks and then people respond back to us. Man, it feels good.
yes, sir.
I be hurting, I'm tired, bro. I'm tired. I ain't gonna lie to you, because we
Oh,
are
that's, I feel it.
because man, we are filming this on Memorial Day. So before we even continue, shout out to all of the veterans. Shout out to all of the people out there who serve this country. This is your day. We thank you for your service. We thank you for the ones that have died for this country. It's a lot, man. It's a lot. It's a big sacrifice and a big challenge to serve. And I don't care what anyone has to say in the comments. Today's their day. Give respect where it's due. Thank you.
100%. Today's the day to remember the fallen. There's a lot of people that gave their life so that we can maintain the freedom to do exactly what we're doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
So whether you feel one way or another about, everything in the history of, what this country has done, it doesn't matter. At least give respect for those that gave their life so that we could have what we have right now.
Right. And again, a lot of times too, and not everyone, I know not everyone has that ability or potential to do that on that level. But the sacrifices that these people have made, you know, we gotta make sure that we use our freedoms very wisely. And
100%.
and again, so some people have a podcast. They out there just talking. Maybe some people think we just talking, but we're gonna keep talking. But we also are gonna show some respect, man. So again, thank you everybody out there that has served, and for your loved ones that you have lost. We thank you. All right, a little moment of silence right there for them guys. Thank y'all. So we're gonna continue because not only does Memorial Day weekend for us, because we live in Georgia, we also have a huge convention that happens the weekend of Memorial Day weekend, and it is called MomoCon. Now, I think some people. I mean, you've been to MomoCon, Data, right?
Yeah, I've been to MomoCon before.
Okay, so for everyone out there who does not know what MomoCon is, let me go ahead and pull this up real quick. MomoCon is just one of the conventions that we have out here in Georgia. Huge anime, gaming, sci-fi, convention for the family, for all ages. It is amazing, and it has grown from a small convention at Georgia Tech to now taking over the World Congress Center every year. And I'm like, wow. The reason why this convention alone sticks really to me, because this was the first convention that I ever went to, and this is the first convention and only convention that I actually volunteered for multiple years. The experience, the life lessons that I've learned with the people that I volunteered with for this convention, changed. I will say honestly changed me in so many ways. And being able to go back to MomoCon this year, but on the other end, helping another friend with his business within the MomoCon convention, it was like seeing a family member again that you haven't seen in a long time, and you see they're doing great, they're healthy, you know what I'm saying, and seeing that this thing, I think there was easily over like 700,000 people there that weekend, collectively, easily. And
the World Congress Center is huge. For anybody who doesn't know Atlanta like that, World Congress Center is a multi-story facility that could probably easily fit 100 to 200,000 people. And when you're considering that this is an all-weekend event, like,
easy. Like I said before, and I think a lot of times people, they can get a little discouraged. It could be a lot. That's a lot of people. But
it is.
And I feel like once you're able to step into that world and you start doing conventions, MomoCon has to be on your list. And just from my experience this year, didn't have a lot of time to actually go through the whole convention, because I was actually I was more working this year than I normally do. But they had a museum of all of the MomoCons that they've had since the beginning till now. If I'm not mistaken, this was I think this was the 20th year, if I'm not mistaken, of MomoCon. And when I tell you, I walked in there, I looked at the museum, and I saw where I started and when I stopped volunteering. And all of the memories rushed back to me. And I started asking my friends who still actively volunteer. I was like, this is amazing. And like to know that the creators of this convention gave me a chance to not only volunteer, but to grow with them. And they gave me more responsibility as I was there as a volunteer at the time. So I always thank them. Not saying nobody's names, because some of y'all be weird out there, but they know who they are. And I truly am blessed, and I truly thank you all for the work that the opportunities that you have given me. Because without MomoCon, real talk, y'all, without MomoCon, I think my content creation would have not even started. Honestly, seeing people, seeing these cosplayers, seeing the photographers that are out there, the videographers who are out there, other podcasts and streamers who are out there, it really sparked my interest and the people that I was able to actually talk to through this convention. So like this is not an advertisement. This is me personally wanting to add this to the podcast today because I am a huge con goer to the point where my wife has been dragged into it and she loves it now. And she wants to go into cosplay. She became just fell in love with cosplaying and fell in love with what that entails and the creations behind it. And then when we went, we've been to Texas, to DreamCon, we've done DragonCon, MomoCon, AWA. We're planning on doing BlurredCon. I still want to go to Comic Con. So, so there's so many cons out there, but Data, what do you think of the convention life?
I'm not nearly as big into it as you've been. I mean, as long as I know you, you've been huge into like the different cons and stuff like that. I haven't been as big into it. I've only gone to like a couple, but I've enjoyed myself every time that I've gone. You get to see just a ton of people being able to just like freely and openly nerd out, like let the inner child out and just express themselves in a lot of really cool, really amazing ways. You get to see local artists, local game developers, like local comic writers, local everything. Like it is crazy amazing to go to these conventions and see just like all the amazing stuff from a whole bunch of different areas that people are able to do. MomoCon especially I like because it tickles the right part of nerd that I am. Like a lot of like Japanese culture, a lot of like anime, video games, stuff like that. Being able to be on display all at the same time, like that's just awesome. But yeah, like if y'all have a chance to go to a local convention nearby where you are, or if amazingly you have the ability to travel to go see one that you'd like to, uh, take that opportunity. Like these are super fun events.
Oh yes, and I do want to add too, like for a lot of people out there who think maybe their love for a certain thing, it doesn't have to just be anime or video games. There could be a Star Wars fan out there who loves Star Wars, who people who love comic books. We have Comic Con. I know there's many
Yeah.
Star Trek conventions. There's like I guarantee you there is a convention for what you love if you look deep enough.
100%.
And I am a believer of conventions. So these are things that we have to definitely make sure they stay alive when they are created because it's not an easy feat to not only start a convention but to maintain this for multiple years. And because if you didn't know, I know like DragonCon that's out here in Atlanta. They are huge, but they stay in Peachtree, Atlanta, just because of the money and the amount of people and money that comes to the city for DragonCon. They just stay there because it has now become a part of like the culture of conventions for them. And with MomoCon, like I said, they went from Tech Village, which is within Georgia Tech, to a couple of hotels, major hotels in Atlanta, to the Congress Center. And they've been there ever since. And they're continuing to grow. And this is amazing. Because when you... Maybe only, I am being biased. Because, again, MomoCon holds a very strong part in me. Because I've seen this thing from pretty much the beginning to where it is now. And I've had like a full circle moment because now I'm not working with MomoCon right now. I would love to in the future to go back to working with them in some form. But to be able to see another friend of mine who has a food truck be able to sell his food at MomoCon. And seeing my old friends that I volunteered with, and they see me there and they go, man, it's crazy how life brought us back to Momo, and that's, to me, it's like that is amazing, because you'll see people from all over the world, all over the United States and the world coming to these conventions, and you'll be surprised at the people you bump into and the people that you never thought you would talk to.
Yep.
So just everybody out there that's listening to the podcast, think about it. Think about putting a convention on your list of vacations. I guarantee you will not regret it. And Data, next year, I'm getting you to MomoCon. That's my goal. That's one of my goals for 2026. Data will be on the floor of MomoCon in some form.
I was there last year. I couldn't make it this year. Didn't have the money. But I was there last year.
Shoot, I should have dragged you to work with me. That's what I should have did. Bro, I'm telling you, just random. I also help a food truck, if you didn't figure it out yet. But we have a kiosk in the Congress Center. And when I tell you, we sold out of all of our food 3 days straight. It was amazing. That line never ended. And I think everyone, I don't know if anybody who supports, they're called Cheese and Confused. I'm definitely going to be having some shout outs for them in the description. So, check them out if you're in the Georgia area. They have a food truck and they have a kiosk in the Congress Center. You will not be disappointed. Not a paid advertisement. The food is just fire. I got to let y'all know. Boom. People going to be like, yo, let's just keep giving these guys good stuff because they seem to just give us free promotions.
Right.
But hey, I'm in a giving mood today, man. I told you, like, this weekend has been so busy, but it's been so fulfilling, and we had to push back the podcast recording just because of the big weekend, So that's why I'm like, if we have to push it back anyway, maybe we should figure out how to do it at the convention next year.
That would be cool.
So all our viewers out there, keep your ears, keep your eyes on us, because we may pull off something next year that y'all wasn't
subtle
thinking.
Foreshadowing might not be so subtle.
There you go. Just may not be. All right. Now, Data, I got one for you. We're going to it's my next topic. So I didn't tell you about this topic, but we had a wrestling topic last episode. Did well, did decent. Some people said I was crazy thirsty. That's all right. It is what it is. I'm married. Don't worry about it, y'all. I'm good. But I decided to bridge the culture gap again. So it is technically a gaming hot take, but it is from one of the biggest gaming wrestlers in the WWE. So, are you ready?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right, we're going to send it over. I'm just going to go ahead and
Meet Hyrule Warrior.
Ooh, that's loud. Hold
Of those games. Not that I don't like them. I've got my Triforce here. I love Zelda. I love the franchise. I want Zelda in a different format. I don't feel like cooking. I don't want my weapons to break. I want to level something. Give me a third-person skill tree type of Zelda game. Give me Hyrule Warriors. I 100%ed both of those because they're incredible. I think I'm done with like the normal Zelda game. Give it to me in a different format. Give me a Zelda tactics game. Give me a Zelda dodgeball game. I don't care. I love all the characters. I love all the lore. Just give it to me in a different setting. I don't like either of those games. Not that I don't like them. I've got my Triforce here. I love...
Okay, that's one at the beginning. But this is Xavier Woods. He is the creator of Up, Up, Down, Down that I was telling you about last podcast. So him, Kofi, the Usos, like all of the newer generational wrestlers, they kind of changed the landscape of how wrestling life is behind the curtain. So they brought a lot of video games. They brought a lot of that to the WWE. And I thought this was a very interesting take from him because he is your everyday gamer. He just happens to be a very successful wrestler. So, and what do you think? I thought this was a really interesting one. I know how much we love The Legend of Zelda.
Yeah. Honestly, I agree with him on not liking the last couple of games. Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, not my favorite. And this is from someone whose first game was A Link to the Past. Like, I have been a Zelda player for a long time. I would like to see more types of Zeldas. I did like the Hyrule Warriors games. But I don't want that to sacrifice the core of what Zelda has always been, which is like a dungeon delver type game. Like, since the very first game, it is, a collection of dungeons that you have to, fight enemies, solve puzzles, all that good stuff, to get through to the end. And I don't want to lose that part, like that core of Zelda. How we do that can change, but I don't want to sacrifice that just to get the different types, if that makes sense.
Yes, I can definitely see that. Because Hyrule Warriors, even though it was great, because I loved Dynasty Warriors, like that was a guilty pleasure game for me growing up. So Hyrule Warriors just filled that niche for me.
Yeah.
It wasn't too far from the basics of the game itself. So it's like you're fighting things, a lot of things are enemies coming at you. It just took away, I would say, like the puzzle aspects of the game. Like you said, the dungeon crawling. Yeah. One thing that Xavier Woods said that I thought was pretty interesting, maybe bringing in like a skill tree or an RPG, a heavy RPG mechanic to one of the games. I think people are going to get tired of me saying this on the podcast, but I am always going to be the guy to tell you that if you're going to do something different within a world space, you maybe don't use the main characters. Use the world space to give us something new. We Link, Zelda, Ganondorf. That's the three basics. Like every Legend of Zelda game has them in some form, some fashion. Maybe give us a don't hurt me, people. Maybe give us a Souls-like challenge type of game. Maybe more of like a Lies of P style Legend of Zelda. It don't gotta be Link. It could be Ganon. It could be like a boss rush with Ganon. Give us that. Like God of War type vibes with Ganondorf. His origin story leading him up to his perpetual downfall. There's so many facets, and that's what I love about Hyrule as a whole, is that we've been through so many games, so many, Twilight Princess, Skyward Sword, even with Majora's Mask. If you really think about it, when's the last time that we even hinted at Majora's Mask, I think, in any of the games? I could be wrong, but I think like we had Majora's Mask and they kind of just went like, that's this story, on to the next one. And
yeah, they've had like little hints as far as like you have outfits and stuff in other games, but nothing to the story.
Yeah, so it's like I dig it, and I like that someone is bold enough to say like, I didn't really care for the last two games, and I only bought one. I didn't buy the other one. I enjoyed it the one time, and then when a lot of people were telling me that the second game was fun, but it didn't really seem like there was much of a change outside of the building aspects that got better. But I was like, okay, I can skip it. And I don't want my Legend of Zelda love to become like my Pokemon love, where I'm just like, okay, I can just skip like every other release. And I feel like,
well, when they tried this, At first, I thought they did good. When I saw the trailers and stuff for Tears of the Kingdom, I was like, okay, this is exactly what companies should be doing.
Mm-hmm.
You're reusing assets and world space so that you can more quickly make the next game. And then I played it, and the performance was like slideshow level, and I was like, this is terrible.
Right.
Y'all should have done anything other than this.
Mm-hmm.
Because like if you think back, at least when I think back, right, to the better Zeldas, and even just like the better titles in Nintendo's past.
Mm-hmm.
Ocarina of Time to Majora's Mask. Majora's Mask was able to come out incredibly quickly because they just reused assets, reused the game engine, and just made like new maps, new story, etc. The same thing with like Metroid Prime 2. They reused assets, reused like game engine, all that.
Mm-hmm.
Just made like new maps, new story. And so like that's why I was excited at first. But like holy lag Batman, it was pretty bad.
Yes, that performance was tough. And again, the Switch had its capabilities, but it also had its flaws that just blatantly clearly became obvious as we got towards the end of the Switch's lifespan. Switch 2 on the horizon, of course, opens up a lot more capabilities, a lot more boundaries that they can touch on. And I think that would be the prime time to not bring out another Legend of Zelda like this. I would personally, I would like to go back to how it was with Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, or even Wind Waker. Not a remake or a remaster. Let's go back to like the Wind Waker style. Maybe pick up something else in that world space, how we played it. But I mean, even Twilight Princess. I enjoyed that game on the GameCube heavily. Skyward Sword, didn't really play it as much. I got my hands on it, but I didn't really dig deep into that game. So I don't want to give that game a up or a down, in my opinion.
Skyward Sword was a pretty awesome Zelda. It had its problems, mostly because like at the time they gave way to like a lot of the like you have to use motion control,
Mm-hmm.
even if motion control's not the best way to do what you're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
They fixed a lot of that in the HD re-release on the Switch, where a lot of the stuff that was mandatory motion control, they remapped it to just like regular controls. Because like to be fair, sometimes motion controls genuinely the best way to do it.
Right.
Like when it comes to VR, right? VR is basically just super good motion controls.
Mm-hmm.
I had nothing wrong with that. I love VR. But sometimes motion controls is not the best way to do. There's a better way to achieve what you're trying to do, which is why VR controllers still have buttons.
Fair enough.
Because sometimes a button is just better than the motion control.
It's like, well, you're doing a lot of motions there. Hit the A button. Keep it pushing. Okay, hit the click. Keep pushing. But you're right though. And Nintendo using, I guess I can say, with Nintendo having these like generational franchises, it's really easy for them to insert newer ideas and try newer things with them, because they reality know that it ain't going nowhere. You if they were to give us like a dud Legend of Zelda, like just complete trash, it's not like it's over. They know that we messed up, but you're not going to leave. The Legend of Zelda franchise is in all of our veins, man. Like it's even people who may say they don't really mess with it, like they still respect it for what it is. So yeah. It's like,
I will tell you one thing though. This console coming up is about to be a dud.
Hey.
Not even because the technology is bad.
Hey.
The technology genuinely looks good. The games genuinely look good, Nintendo, you better get your act together.
It's coming.
Like,
It ain't coming. It ain't. It's one of those things, man.
Did you see the end user license agreement stuff that came out?
Yes, sir. We gonna break.
Yo.
We gonna. I'm trying not to curse, but we gonna break yo. You know. We gonna brick your Switch. There we go.
When I saw that, and they were like, "We have the right to make your system non-functional if we deem it to be outside our guidelines." Bro, you mean the system I paid $500 for? You have lost your mind.
Crazy, right? And then on top of that too, so we break your system. Good chance we're going to ban your account, which all of your digital copies are on. So now you lost all your games.
Yep.
And it's cool because I remember when you mentioned that on the last episode about Steam, and there was a guy, or there was a comment that was left on that short that I made for it, and they were like, yeah, just, I guess, like, family share your account to your second account. Mm-hmm. So that even if that does happen, you still have all of your library linked to that other account. And I was like, okay, that is a safe way, I guess, of just in case something happens, you have a way to at least access the library. But the fact that you can still lose all of your games because of a glitch, I forgot the game, but there was literally a game where it was an MMO that was on Steam that it would literally flag your account if you did not play the game after a certain amount of years. And it was like, it was something with the cheating code, like the cheating mechanic that it had in the game. They were just like, oh, clearly something's not right here. So it flags your Steam account. And then people are getting strikes on their accounts for a game they haven't played in like years.
That's wild.
Crazy. You know, and I'm all down with the progression. I am for the growth of this form of entertainment. I'm not gonna go back into the soapbox of pricing of games. At this point,
yeah,
I like how you said it in the comments. You have a backlog. I have a backlog of games. I'm gonna be alright. You know what I'm saying? So I agree with Data 110%. I read that and I was like, he ain't lying. I got a backlog, bro, and Game Pass is making that backlog even bigger. All right. But that was interesting. I think I'm going to start trying to like save more of these hot takes that I find online when I'm just kind of chilling at the house, just scrolling for a little bit. I see a lot of them, and I just never save them. You think I would with us having a podcast, make our job easier. Just take the hot takes that we see out there already.
I feel that I come across stuff too, and then later on I'm like, man, it's a little late now, but it would have been cool.
It would have been fire. or I forget to send them to you to get your 2 cents during the week. Because that's one thing too. It's like, I don't want to. I've been surprising you a lot with stuff, and it's just funny because I know, like, I'm gonna keep him on his toes this week to see what happens, But I'm fair. I do like to send him things too, so he can digest it. All right, because this next topic I did send to him because I do know that Data is one of the biggest Eminem fans I know. And
I don't know about the biggest. I like hip hop in general, and hip hop doesn't exist in its current form without Eminem.
Which I agree.
His influence has been huge. Whether or not you think he's the best artist, I don't think he's the best artist.
No.
But his influence is undeniable.
Yeah. And I remember growing up, I'll tell people, it's like, Eminem, if I was to sit down and actually think about the artists that I listen to, where would I put him? Like, would he fall in my top 10? And I honestly said no. And growing up, some people would be like, well, that's crazy, that's insane. I'm like, well, the question is artists that I listen to. I listen to him, but does his music resonate to me to the point where I'm like, yeah, you're definitely in my top 10. And I was like, no. Like, I don't need to have Eminem on the road trip playing.
That's fair.
That's one way. That's one of my criteria. Is like, if you're in my top 10, you're at least one of your songs or two of your songs are at least being played on the road trip. Easily. But this video that we're about to watch is from Hip Hop DX, a channel on YouTube. I'm gonna tag them and everything. We're not gonna watch the whole thing because it's 14 minutes. I just wanted it to have y'all listen to kind of like the opening segment of their video. I love their takes. I love the way that they explain their hip hop videos too as well. So let's sit back.
They do break it down real well.
So I'm saying, have you heard of Hip Hop DX in the past?
I've seen a couple of their stuff before. I haven't watched a ton of it though.
Okay, because like I won't say I've grown up with them, but like they're one of my main hip hop channels that I watch. I do like how they break things down. So we're gonna watch maybe like a minute of it, and then we're gonna go from there. You know, so again, this is it's a time for us to be honest about Eminem. Let's go.
There's something to be said about knowing when to hang it up. Take the career of a prize fighter, for example. Once they've given all they can to the sport, hanging on any longer can have truly destructive consequences, because soon they become the sacrificial lamb that other young bulls will use to make a name from. And we've seen it time and time again. Across MMA, boxing, and virtually every combat sport you can imagine, there's countless examples of once great fighters who couldn't walk away, clinging to the hope of one more round, and ultimately becoming prisoners to their own love of the game.
If y'all want to watch the rest of that, go to Hip Hop DX. It's time for us to be honest about Eminem. All right? Now, I'm going to let you have the floor first, Data.
So I agree with a lot of the points that he makes in this, where he mentions that, like, Eminem's kind of gone on longer than he really should have in a lot of senses. I disagree on a couple points, too, because he mentions that longevity for longevity's sake almost like diminishes careers, compares it a lot to like sporting careers, wrestling careers, stuff like that. When it comes to art forms, I disagree on that end. I think there's always room for both the newer artist and the older artist to coexist, especially in the age of like streaming platforms, stuff like that. We're paying flat rates each month. There's no reason that an older artist and a younger artist can't coexist in the same space. You're no longer competing for the same, $15 so that you can get your record sold instead of your competitor, right? Mm-hmm. But I also agree with the fact that he has kind of strained himself in a lot of ways to be relevant in spaces that he really shouldn't have to be relevant in anymore. Like he's not like big name mainstream hip hop the way that he used to be. Because, I'm sure you remember when we were growing up, like early 2000s, he was everywhere. The biggest name in hip hop that there was. Until pretty much like his recovery album. And then he just kind of like stepped to the sidelines for a while. And to me, it's fine that like he doesn't have to be the biggest name in hip hop. He can be on the sidelines and still be relevant. I don't know. Because while I agree that he's an amazing artist, but I don't think he's necessarily like the biggest and the best artist, because like I can think of almost every aspect of hip hop that someone does it better than he does. Mm-hmm. When it comes to flows, there's rappers that have better flows than him. When it comes to speed, there's rappers that have better speed than him. Punchlines, there's rappers that have better punchlines, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? But none of them can match his influence. I would wager to say there is not a single artist like big name artist today that was not influenced in one way or another by Eminem.
Okay.
Like, whether that was a massive influence or whether it was just like among the artists they listened to, I would wager to say there's probably not a single artist that was not influenced by him in some way.
I can see that. Okay.
I don't know.
Okay. Now
That's kind of where I sit on it.
okay, and we kind of see things. We kind of see things the same in a lot of it. So like when they did mention about the whole sports situation, and I do see sports as an art form, and it's in a certain way. So it's like with sports, definitely physical sports, I see the art form of people being able to push their bodies to elite levels that no one else can. The problem is there's a lifespan upon that. That's why we have people like a LeBron James who is about to do his 23rd year in the NBA, and he'll be like he'll be 40, like 41, and he's playing with 20-year-olds and still competing on a high level. That is how I kind of see Eminem. And what really concerned me with this video, when I look at art forms of music, painting, things of that, I'm trying to say, I don't want to say like less physical art forms, because rapping is a very physical, demanding art form. You know, breath control, all
Not
that
in the
stuff,
same
etc.
way as being like a football player or something like that.
Okay, so I can say like less physical, then nobody will like take me out. So but the art form of music, I do not like it when rappers, musicians, rock bands, I hate when they say we retire. Because I personally don't believe that you retire from art. You take a break. You may not want to do it anymore, so you find something else to do. But you never retire from it, because that's a skill that you have mastered. So to say that you're just gone from it, I feel is very extreme. And most of the time, they always come back after a while. I feel like with Eminem, that's the problem that he's having right now, is that he loves the art form of hip hop. He loves the culture. He loves what he does. But the problem is our generation grew up with a troubled Eminem. So we expect this type of Eminem. The newer generation is like, well, he's an old guy that talked about, beating his mom and drugs and going crazy. He aight, but he ain't us. But then, people like Machine Gun Kelly goes, well, I'm going to attack him and strike and just give my opinions on him. Eminem's like, I'm still Eminem. Y'all may not think because I'm not the young guy anymore in the art form, I can still produce the art. It may not be what you want, but I can still do this. So the culture, I guess the best way to explain it too, LL Cool J said it best. Because LL Cool J just came out with an album towards the end of last year, if I'm not mistaken. And they asked him, they said, like, how do you maneuver in this world space? And he's like, well, I took a break. I went to movies, to TV shows, but it's art. I can always come back. I can still rap. I can still write rhymes. I can still do this. Look at Andre 3000. Andre 3000 has said many times that, like, yeah, he feels like where he was with hip hop when he was growing up, he's not at that same feeling of it anymore, because his life is completely different. Yeah. Now, if that meant him making a flute album, that's fine. He took his art, went somewhere else with it, and he's doing that. I think that is what the younger generation wants to see happen to the older hip hop core. They think like, okay, you're old now, go pivot somewhere else and do something else. But then when you have someone like Eminem who's like, no, I'm okay. I'm not, like you said, I'm not battling for records anymore. I've proven my dominance in this realm. I'm not 50 Cent. I don't want to pivot into business. I don't want to create a lot of businesses and become a mogul. I don't want to do that. I want to still be Marshall Mathers. I want to be a grandfather, but I'm also a rapper. And I think personally, when it comes to the respect of the hip hop culture, that's where we're missing this target. And Eminem's one of the few that I think does uplift a lot of the younger artists, because he has apologized on many occasions for certain things that he said, or if he felt like he went the wrong way with someone, and I respect that out of him. He's like no, I should not talk down to the newer generation of rappers, because this is the next level. These are the people coming to the table. And if you don't remember, Eminem wasn't even accepted at the table of hip hop. He had to sit on the couch.
I mean, there's still quite a few people that don't accept him at the table of hip hop today, stubbornly. And that's that. Honestly, you have to give your props to Eminem for the part that, like, I know a lot of people gave him garbage when he apologized to, like, Tyler the Creator and like quite a few other artists for stuff that he had said. But a lot of people were like, oh, well, he's just getting soft and like trying to be like, the new woke Eminem. And it's like, it shows maturity and growth for him to be able to recognize, hey, I did something that was bad. And I can recognize it was bad. And I can do what I can to try and fix and repair it.
Right.
Like that is growth that we should want from people and that we should expect from people, especially the bigger name artists. And unlike a lot of people who would get praised for something like that, Eminem has always kind of gotten the opposite, because they're like, oh no, you're Slim Shady, you're not supposed to care, you're all this other stuff. And it's like, but why can't he grow?
Right. I mean,
as a person, as an artist, like, why can't he grow?
I think as you say that, look at what happened with Linkin Park. Just how the fan base just kind of almost derailed them because they wanted to mature their sound. Life changes, people have newer experiences, and that's one thing with music in general, on all forms, all genres of music. Your life experiences bleed into your work. I feel some of the best pieces of music is when an artist can be vulnerable. And I think that's one reason why Eminem lasted so long and was so successful, because yes, it was very extreme, very explicit, but it was very vulnerable at the same time. He held nothing back on the pen. And that is what I think for him was very, very big. And some people may say, the whole thing, the white rapper syndrome thing. Let's not forget, there was a Vanilla Ice whose career, of course, he had his moments and his push, but when it comes to the culture, he's really only known for two things. Two. Well, no, two. Ice Ice Baby, and that being plagiarism, and then the ninja rap. Yep. That's it. But if you sit down and you talk to someone, I think almost anyone from young to old can tell you a lot about Eminem, and because he has stood the test of time. Not everything can be a banger. Not everything can be a pure certified hit. But we can look at his discography and go, we know exactly where mentally you were in each album that you've given us, good or bad. You know, and one thing about this video, when they started talking about him, like, is it time for him to hang it up? No. An artist should never just hang it up. Take a maybe, you know, take a break, you know, be a granddad, you know, enjoy your grandkid, you know, and then come back with some more experiences, maybe some things that you now have learned because you're now a grandfather. You're not just a father anymore. You know, you're not in 8 Mile anymore in fear of losing everything. You know, not to be negative, but I think someone that did that very poorly was Logic. And I enjoy old Logic. When Logic got to that pinnacle of his career, I think he didn't understand. I think he didn't realize how big he got, and that he can't go back to rapping the way he was. Your experiences, you're now at the top of the charts. You're not, you know, you're not Bobby from the garage in the basement. You're not that guy anymore. So then when his last album, when he was talking about being a dad, being married, being successful, but, you know, people looked at him and was like, this is kind of weird. It ain't bad, but it's not what we come to you for. And how you said about, like, the maturity of things. It's like sometimes you're going to outgrow your favorite artist, or vice versa. Your favorite artist will outgrow you. And one thing with the streaming platform, which I feel gets misused heavily, is that sometimes a lot of people don't take that time to hit that search button and see, like, you know, shout out Terry Lane. Like, we wouldn't have figured out his music if we just kept to our own bubble. You know, what was it? The Paradox that you showed us. You know, it's like those, you know, streaming has its negatives. Like, I'm not getting into that. But the positive thing that I've seen with streaming services of music is that the gatekeeping has been broken. There is no excuse anymore to why you can't hear something or why you can't find something. And to see someone like Eminem, to bring it back to him, are we saying that he should hang it up because his work is truly bad, or is it just you're tired of seeing him? Is it because, to be honest, yeah, I could critique his work and be like, yeah, this ain't his best work. Like, you know, like you said, this ain't no recovery. This ain't no curtain call. You know, like, this ain't no encore. I get it. Like, we can all do that. But to see where he is in life right now, and the fact of he can still spit at a level that is still impressive. He can still feature. He can clap back on people still. I feel like it's one of those things where I don't want us to tarnish what we have with him, because one day he's not going to do it anymore, you know, and you know, Lord forbid the day that he, you know, goes on, he passes away, we won't have new things from him anymore. Yeah. You know, and you know, look at Tupac, look at Biggie. We can't get anything new from them. We lost them at such a young age. Who knows where they would have been now in their careers? Yeah. You know, if I had to be not crucial, but if I had to critique it, we don't give Lil Wayne the same situation. And Lil Wayne's technically doing the same thing that Eminem's doing. He has surpassed the longevity. Lil Wayne is still producing music, still producing albums and hits, and still touring and performing at a high level and killing it. You know, we may not like everything he's doing, but he's still out there. So it's like, are we going to give that same issue to him as we do Eminem? Something to think about. Something to think about.
It's okay to be at a different place in life than you were when you got into an artist and when you resonated like with that artist. Like it's okay to be in a place in life where you're like, I don't really, attach myself emotionally to the music the same way I used to. Um, like people grow, artists grow, and it's okay to grow in different directions. But that doesn't mean that there's not an audience out there for artists that you've grown differently than.
Right.
Like there's still a spot for them. They can grow, have their life experiences. There's an audience that will resonate with the new life experiences that they're having. And there's an audience that will go somewhere else to a different artist. And that's fine. Like I mean, the point in Eminem's career that I've always resonated with the most is the songs he wrote between Encore and not Recovery, but Encore and Relapse.
Mm-hmm.
That like 4-year hiatus that he had. Because those are just like the most like raw emotional songs in his entire like discography. Things like When I'm Gone, Beautiful, stuff like that. And I love songs from artists that have just like those raw like moments. Like talking about Lil Wayne a little bit again, from the Carter 5. Let It All Work Out. Like just that raw moment where like it might not necessarily be the moment people are expecting him to share on the song, but just that raw moment of just laying everything out on the table. Like those are the moments I resonate with artists the most on. You know, because that's when you really get to feel in, you know, each album that they put out, like this is where they are in life. That this is the emotions they're feeling. These are the things that they're working through. Like this is where they're at.
100% facts. And I didn't realize we were at the hour mark already. Jeez.
Oh yeah, we've been going for a minute.
We've been flying. But I guess to wrap up this topic, to wrap up this section, I totally agree with Data. And again, this is nothing bad. Like, we're not sitting there going like, oh, everybody's wrong. Boom, boom, boom. Like, no. But kind of like how I said, I personally just feel like an artist does not retire. Now, of course, if they say they retire, they retire. It is what it is. But I personally feel like when it comes to art forms like that, they don't retire. They just take a break, or they just need something to re-spark that magic in them. And the best thing about music, we have a discography of these people. So it's like if they leave for a while and they come back, take some time to really see if this new stuff is really bad or if it's just coming from a different perspective. You know, and I think that's something that we don't do in the culture. And it could be the small attention span. It could be. It could be the new social media wave of things. The new TikTok music wave of things. It could be. I could be tripping. But, you know, some people can't even get past a 3-minute song. If that hook don't hit them quickly, you know, if that formula that has been created with streaming music doesn't exist, a lot of them will just skip it.
Yeah.
If you don't know what I'm talking about, look up the streaming formula for music in the streaming culture, and it's interesting how each song is purposely broke down the way it is so that they can catch you long enough so they can get their streaming count. It's really interesting. We're not going to talk about it right now because we gotta go. but
we'll be here all night if we start talking about that.
Yeah, we will be here all night. But if you made it this far in the podcast, we thank you. Again, Culture Clash. You know, this is this is a podcast where we want open discussions. We want to have open conversations with y'all. So, you know, if you see our stuff, leave comments, leave likes, you know, share the link, share the topics with your friends so we can all grow this community and have healthy conversation. The key word, healthy conversation. Okay, healthy.
Yes.
Don't worry. I think depending how things go, we may do another open Q&A. The last one was interesting, of course, if you remember. If not, go back to that episode. You'll figure it out. But let's go ahead and do our closing statements for this episode. So, Data, any last words?
Yeah, just remember, check us out on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, Spotify. We also have the shorts that go up on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. And, you know, I'm trying to get it up on YouTube Music. Maybe by the time you're hearing this, I figured it out. Maybe not. I apologize if not. But we're working on it.
Yes, guys, we're working on it. You know, and one thing that I want to say is again, thank you to everyone that supports us, good or bad. You know, we've been seeing a lot more interactions and a lot more growth coming to our channels because of it. If there is anything that you want us to go over, watch, talk about, discuss on this podcast, feel free to drop us anything, you know, in the comments. Our email should be on our personal sites, or you can just DM us personally. You know, don't be afraid. You know, it's not one of those things where we're going to charge you $100 a month to talk to us. No, that would be crazy. But I would definitely take the money, though. Just saying. Brother got bills. But again, everybody be safe out there. You know, until next time, I'm Zero to Chaos.
And I am Melting Data.
And this has been Culture Clash. So until the next one, y'all be good and keep the discussions flowing. Deuces.